Now, tomorrow we get the mid-year economic and fiscal outlook, and I had to laugh today at the way Treasurer Jim Chalmers was framing it, because there will be increases in spending on Medicare, the PBS, pensions, amongst other things. So they're turning the tables on the opposition and saying, well, if you wouldn't spend this, then you want to cut Medicare. Take a look.
Now, when the Coalition says that this is overspending, what they really mean is they're coming after Medicare and medicines and pensions.
So you can just spend as much as you want, I suppose, by that logic. And the Australian revealed today that Labor are baking in an extra $25.1 billion in extra spending, which will be all detailed tomorrow. But what a great trick. Oh, you know, if you're not willing to spend more money on Medicare to increase the budget, then you must be going to cut the thing. It reeks a bit of Mediscare.
Oh, absolutely, and we saw how that went, Caleb, didn't we? Look, a federal budget's no different to a household budget. You cannot spend more than you earn, and I think it was economist Chris Richardson who talked about the fact over the Jim Chalmers budget that Albanese government has spent $100 billion more, and it's actually gained, I think, $44 billion in extra revenue. So there's $60 billion there that's been spent that hadn't been earned. And look, we're going to hear these. We're going into an election. We're going to hear the cost of living, along with energy, is going to be, you know, the big ticket sort of items come election time. We're going to hear all sorts of claims from both sides, to be fair. But I think when you start using terms like unavoidable costs to explain, you know, a growth in spending, that's starting to get very tricksy very quickly, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And of course, we know the RBA said multiple times it's government spending that's driving inflation at the moment. So they may as well kiss goodbye to the interest rate reduction that they want. And this is the other thing, of course, it's not just the national accounts that Labor needs to justify to voters. It's their individual economic situations, as we've been talking about for weeks now, you know, 7 straight quarters of household GDP going backwards. And I read this article in the Sydney Morning Herald today about how to budget for next year. And it mentions that a survey by comparison website Finder found, that 20% of Australians faced a financial emergency this year. 1 in 5 Australians was struggling to get by on the amount of money they had. How is the government meant to tell people at a federal election next year that they've been better off under an Albanese government?
Well, they're going to find it very difficult, and I'm actually surprised it's only 1 in 5, to be honest, Caleb. I would have thought more. I mean, I know so many renters who can't afford to move out, but they can't afford to stay. You know, interest rates have stayed high for a very prolonged period. And I think there hasn't been any optimism, and there is no optimism. There's no sort of blue skies ahead. It's certainly not before the election. It's not going to get better overnight. And I think people are just tired. They're tired of wondering how they're going to pay for this or pay for that. It's sort of become a way of life that has sort of, I don't know how a federal government that oversaw these conditions can actually claim that it's somehow made it better, because it certainly doesn't feel better to any ordinary Australian, does it?
No, it doesn't. Very quickly before we go, Victoria, where you are, the Premier Jacinta Allen today announced that face masks will be banned at protests and they won't be able to carry glue, rope, blocks, that kind of thing. Fair enough, I reckon.
Oh, absolutely. Look, it's a pity that you needed to get a synagogue firebombed to inspire these laws. I mean, why do you need to wear a face mask? Why do you need to protest outside places of worship? I mean, these are deplorable scenes, and they've been going on for so long. Josh Frydenberg wrote a nice column in the weekend papers. He talked about when it's not dealt with, when anti-Semitism is not dealt with properly, it becomes normalised. And that's what's happened, I think, right across Australia, but certainly here in Victoria.
Yeah, and it will also crack down, hopefully, on the crazy Extinction Rebellion people. I mean, that's why they're mentioning glue, etc. in this kind of thing. The more of this we can stop, the better. Patrick Carlyon, thank you for your time.